Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monday, November 11th. Happy Veterans Day. Today is Veterans Day. I want to wish all the veterans a happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service. Yes, we have to salute them. Thank you for your service. Um, I just figured out why farmers are so damn strong. I just spent the last hour hauling sacks of topsoil and garden soil. I think they were like 50 or 70-pound bags. I mean, farmers are strong for a reason, man. They're out there working every day, picking up heavy objects. And, I'm not exactly a weakling. I work out every day with weights. There's even some exercises I do that just involve picking up heavy dumbbells as just an exercise to feel what it's like or to acclimate to pick up something heavy. But I'm telling you, I was carrying those sacks of soil around. Man, they are heavy. So I understand why farmers are strong. All right, we had an update in the market. Dow closed above 44,000. One of the things that I've been getting in the comments, because I was talking about the Elon Musk 2 trillion cuts, and I've been talking about how the government has to spend to supply the dollars. If they're going to impose taxes that are only payable in dollars, the government has to supply the dollars into the system, has to provide the dollars to the non-government, because they're going to need the dollars to settle tax liabilities. It's the same thing. I always use the example of the Monopoly game. If you've ever played the Monopoly game, you know that the game has to distribute the money before anyone could play. If you land on chance or community chest, those little cards, and it says pay tax, $75, you're just giving back some of the money that was distributed by the game. And that's exactly, what's going on in a situation. That's the reality of how it works. But my question to you guys, because a lot of you say, well, Mike, it isn't so much the spending, it's more what the government spends on. And again, I will say two things from this. Number one, supposedly we live in a democracy where we vote. We just had a vote. I think it was a vote that said a lot of things. The people spoke and they elected a guy who stood for things that they wanted. So we live in a system where you vote, you send people to Washington, and they're supposed to anyway legislate or run the government in your interests. We voted for it. So that's number one. So to say like the government's spending on crazy shit, there is some of that going on. We've all heard stories of the $300 hammer or the $1,000 toilet bowl seat that the Pentagon spends money on. But when you're talking about a 7 trillion annual spending, those things are like infinitesimally small. So my question is, what would you cut? I know what I would cut, and it would be half. It would be immediately half what Elon Musk is trying to do. It would be more than half. It's over $1 trillion. But I'm asking, before I say that, before I tell you what my choice would be, I would ask you guys, what are you going to cut? Are you going to cut Social Security? Are you going to cut Medicare? Are you going to cut Medicaid? Are you going to cut defense? All right? Some of you might say, yeah, cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid. Maybe today's Veterans Day, maybe you won't say cut defense. But you also have to be thinking about the quality of society. And in that I say, like, if you cut Social Security, if you cut these safety nets, Social Security, and I'm no socialist, believe me, but I'm just saying, if you cut all these these safety nets, you're going to have a very shocking society in the sense it's going to look kind of dystopian, where lots and lots of poverty, lots of homeless people, lots of very, very sick people who can't afford medical care. It's going to be a real shitty place to live. Now, some of you, if you're very wealthy, if you live in enclaves that are, gated and guarded and protected or whatever, maybe you don't care. I mean, maybe you don't care. If you live way out in the woods, in the boondocks somewhere, and you say, screw it, I can take care of myself. I don't need these things. I'm self-sufficient. I get it too. But that's a small percentage of the population. I'm not saying those people are not supposed to have those views. Everyone's entitled to their views, but we live in a society, we live in a country, and I think ultimately you have to think about the quality of the society and what it's going to look like. So I'll tell you what I would cut. I would cut the interest expense because it's ridiculous. It's completely unnecessary. We're paying over $1 trillion. This is more than half of what Elon wants to cut, which I'm sure he's not going to cut that, right? He's going to cut, if he cuts stuff, he's probably going to cut the stuff that really, really affects people. But the government paying interest on its own money, and who is that interest going to? I mean, it's going to people who already have money. It's going to institutions that already have plenty of money. Big, powerful institutions or very, very wealthy people who have so much savings that they stash the savings in government securities to earn the extra interest. And I mean, it's completely ludicrous for the government to pay interest on its own money. So the way you get rid of that is you tell the Fed, or you have the Fed slash rates to zero and keep it there. You just say from now on, the interest rate is zero. And if you need to drain reserves from the banking system just to, so that the banks and the financial institutions are comply with the regulatory mandates, I mean, you could simply sell 30-day T-bills to do that. That functions the same way. You don't have to sell 2-year and 5-year and 7-year and 10-year and 30-year. I mean, every once in a while you hear people say these geniuses on Wall Street, right? Or Jim Cramer. Oh, you should sell a 100-year bond to lock in the rate, like the government is, going to the bank for a loan. I mean, it prints the money. It is the creator of the freaking money. So that's what I would cut. There's no reason to be paying interest on its own money. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous. And again, that's another example of fiscal directed towards rich and powerful institutions. I mean, if you're going to have fiscal, at least have it. Here's another way to say what you guys are saying, because you guys are saying, yeah, Mike, it's not so much about the spending, it's what we spend money on. I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But another way to say that is, let's spend it on infrastructure, on basic research, science and research, on healthcare, on the environment, on alternative energy, on education, on, this kind of stuff that's productive. All right? I mean, sending interest payments to freaking rich people and banks and financial institutions and hedge funds. I mean, come on. That's the stupidest thing in the world. And that is thought of as, kind of prudent policy. This stupid monetarists at the Fed and all of these economists who are deeply, deeply, deeply embedded with this monetarism, which I call a psychosis. I've called it a disease. And they continue to do this stuff, and it's completely ridiculous. I mean, if that trillion plus was redirected into something productive, don't forget, a lot of that money is just saved. It doesn't even go towards consumption and investment. I mean, it's just held in the form of treasury securities. So that's what I would cut right off the bat. And that would be over $1 trillion. It will be more than half of Elon Musk's goal of doing $2 trillion. But I bet you and I guarantee you that is not even going to come out of his mouth. He's not even going to think about that, because Elon Musk he looks at government finance the same way he looks at his own finances or the finances of a household, where there's a limited amount of funds. And because he said, like, the country's going to go bankrupt. He really doesn't know. So he's not going to be saying that. If I was in Elon Musk's job, and by the way, Trump, he hasn't said he wants to fire Powell. The Powell was asked that question. Well, would you resign if the president asked you to resign? He said, no, I'm not going to resign. You can't do that. It's not in the law. I mean, you talk about arrogance. I mean, this guy, through his policies, is directing the Fed through their policies run by this guy Powell, who says he's not going to resign if the president asks him, has been directing trillions of dollars towards rich people and big financial corporations. And he has to go, you see, because he doesn't even understand that. So when he says, I'm not resigning, that's coming from him believing that he's on the right side of the argument, that somehow he's doing, God's work by keeping interest rates high. The guy's a fool. He's an idiot. He's a lawyer. He should go back to practicing law and get out of the freaking Fed. Not that there's any other economist that you could really think of right now to put in there. I mean, you can't. I could go in there. An MMT person could go in there. But that's never going to happen, man. So, that's the answer, folks. That's the answer. If you're going to cut something, that would be my vote. Maybe some of you think cut Social Security, cut Medicaid, cut Medicare, cut unemployment benefits, cut everything to the bone. And then, we're in Mad Max. If you've ever seen that movie with Mel Gibson, the apocalyptic, post Armageddon type of world. Yeah, that's what it would be like. And no thanks. Like, I live out here in the boondocks, probably wouldn't be affected too much, but I still say no thanks. No thanks to that. All right? Take away the interest payments. It's ridiculous. I don't know how come somebody really hasn't sat down and thought about this yet. Like, why the hell, we are the issuer of the dollar, why the hell are we paying interest on our dollars? People have to have them if we're going to impose a tax. We don't need to pay people to hold them. They have to have them. And there's no limit on our ability to create them. I mean, it's cuckoo, folks. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Hope you had a good Veterans Day. Bye. By the way, the bond market was closed today. Stocks are up. Bond market was closed. Gold. Let me just quickly mention gold. Gold was down sharply again. So was silver. Interesting moves in gold. Some people saying, well, it's really just a move out of gold and into Bitcoin. That may be the dynamic in play right now. But in the macro picture, I will tell you this, because I did tell you guys that gold was going to have a big correction. And I still think, this is the very early stages. If we get an economic slowdown, I mean, you could see a very significant pullback in gold. And if we do get an economic slowdown, and I'll say this right now, you're going to get a very significant pullback in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not going to go away. I've said this many times since the beginning of Bitcoin. People used to ask me, what do you think of Bitcoin? I said, it's not going away. It's not my cup of tea personally as an investment. I felt it came about as an outgrowth or as a consequence of the U.S. Really weaponizing the dollar with all the sanctions and really endeavoring to shut entities and even countries out of the the global dollar-based financial system. So something had to pop up as an alternative. And Bitcoin came around, and then it caught on. But I do think it's economically sensitive, and I think it's going to have periods. Like if you're chasing after it right now at 80,000, 84,000, whatever it is, I think that's not prudent. I think that's not wise. I think you have to wait. If you want Bitcoin, you will, I'm telling you right now, you will have an opportunity to buy in at a better level. Same thing with gold. If you like gold, people were chasing it up at 2,800. It's 2620 now, and I think it's going to go down some more. I always tell people, don't chase. Do not chase. You make the market come to you. You wait for it to come to you. The crouching tiger in the jungle waiting for the prey. If that particular prey doesn't come along, there's going to be another one. I mean, you really have to understand that, life is long. There's lots and lots of opportunities. There's no such thing as that one thing and then it's all over. No. I mean, as long as you got your health and, you'll be able to find something. You don't have to chase after these things. And if you want to get healthy, be like a farmer and haul around these freaking 100-pound sacks of soil. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.